Today, Lori's making a recipe from the ravenous pig, braised grouper with Greek stew and feta orzo, with State Representative Joe Saunders. Coming up right now on Live with Lori.
Welcome to Live with Lori, Political Food for Thought. Our guest today is Representative Joe Saunders, who was elected to the Florida House in 2012. He's been involved with the Orange County League of Women Voters, chairman of the Osceola Arts for Complete Education Coalition, and the founder of the Florida Safe Schools Coalition. He represents Florida in District 49, covering parts of Orange County. Welcome, Representative Joe Saunders. Thanks for being here.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're lucky today because we are doing a recipe from the Ravenous Pig in Winter Park, which is outside Orlando, for those people who don't know where Winter Park is. They have this wonderful cookbook, The Ravenous Pig, and ironically, although it's the Ravenous Pig and they have lots of good pork recipes, we're cooking fish that has nothing in it, and kind of a change for me because I put bacon in everything.
Grouper, right?
It's grouper. It is braised grouper with Greek stew and feta orzo.
Ooh,
it sounds it's really good. You guys are gonna love it. I wanna ask you some questions about some of the things that I introduced you with. The Arts for Complete Education Coalition. While you're answering that, I'm gonna have you cut these up.
Okay, and what is this? They're both squash? Or is this
zucchini and yellow squash.
Okay.
And I'm going to get the oil started. This is 3/4 a cup of olive oil, and yes, you heard that correctly.
This size, right?
Three-quarters of a cup of olive oil, 1 onion, and 5 cloves of garlic, and we're just going to get that started while we're cutting and talking about the Arts Coalition.
The Arts for a Complete Education Coalition. It's a mouthful, right?
Yeah, what is that?
It was this really great organization that I had the pleasure to chair for about 2 years. And it's interesting because my district is actually in Northeast Orange County, but I worked in Osceola County on it. And that was because I was really involved with a drama club that was in a high school in Osceola County.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, I was a chaperone and kind of a booster for it for a long time. So they recruited me to run this group, which basically was a local advocacy organization for arts education. You know, you probably have followed this because you're pretty political, but you know, arts programs, when schools have dealt with budget cuts, which we've been dealing with a lot over the last about 4 years, are some of the first to get cut.
Right.
You know, there's no FCAT for drama. It doesn't feed into the school grade.
Right.
So in those moments when you have to like make decisions about how to do more with less, a lot of times principals were cutting drama programs.
Right.
So what we started doing was going to the school board and school administrators and just kind of connecting the dots for people about the importance of arts education to academic achievement. The point I've just always made is that there are some kids that will only go to school because those programs are there.
Right.
You know, like it's sort of a safety net in some ways. There are some kids who are only going to care about the drama club. They're not going to ever be on the football team. They're not ever going to be, you know, and I was one of those kids.
Yeah, so was I.
I was one of them.
Yeah, me too.
So it's just, I think we've got to make sure that those programs are there because they really do affect the environment in the school, and it's a real shame if they get cut.
Well, I agree with you. We're going to talk about some of the things that you've sponsored in a little while, but right now we want to talk about some of the things you've done in the past, like the Safe Schools thing. What is that?
Another issue that's really important. You know, my career before being in the legislature was as an organizer and as a kind of an issue-based advocate. And one of the things I had a chance to work on was the Florida Safe Schools Coalition, which addressed the issue of bullying. And, you know, at the time that I started doing that work, which was about 10 years ago, a lot of people weren't talking about bullying. Like, we would go up to the legislature and we would talk about how some kids felt like they couldn't come to school, or they were being bullied online, or they would, you know, they would just have these awful, like, horrific stories that would break your heart, and we'd go up to the legislature and tell people about it. We'd actually bring kids up. The Safe Schools Coalition would bring up kids in high school and middle school to tell their stories to legislators, and what we would hear a lot is, well, boys will be boys and girls will be girls, and that's part of the process. They just have to get used to it. It was awful.
That's just not very nice.
But eventually we changed hearts and minds, and the Jeffrey Johnston Stand Up for All Students Act passed in 2008, which created a requirement that every school district have an anti-bullying policy. So I think we've got a lot more to do. It's not done, the issue, but I think we've made some headway in Florida.
I think that's great. Stay with us, because when we come back, we're going to be talking with the representative about being the first openly gay legislator in Florida. We're going to finish up this stew, and we're going to be working on some other stuff, so stay tuned. It'll be interesting.
Lori mixes things up and talks with Representative Saunders about updating Florida segregation laws when we come back to Live with Lori.